Today I'm going to share with you some very simple ways that you can create energetic boundaries in your life. And I think you're going to be amazed at how much more grounded, emotionally in control you feel, because I know that if you're watching this, then you are a self-aware person, an empath, somebody that goes into situations open and ready to support the people around you. But I also know that many of you are feeling drained and unbalanced because you're absorbing other people's stuff. And so you might have tried things like nervous system regulation and protection meditations, and hopefully all of those things are helping you in some way. But today we're going to be taking that boundary setting to a whole new level. And the last point that I'm going to make is something that I'm sure you will have never heard before, so definitely stick around for that one. I recently worked with somebody who was constantly on high alert. Anything that felt like a challenge to her sent her on an emotional spiral, often related to the people in her life. And so we went through this technique that I'm just about to show you now. And even while we were just on the call, I could notice a change in her energy. She felt more peaceful. She told me that she felt more whole, less scattered. And this was just when we were on a call together and I was instructing her how to do this. You can do this exercise in a few ways. I'm going to be using this piece of rope that I found in my husband's hoard of stuff. But you could use a piece of string, you can use a ribbon, you could even use crystals or a chalk if there's somewhere you can draw on the floor. Really be creative with this. And as you probably guessed, we're going to be creating a boundary around our body. We're going to be creating a circle. So you're going to put the circle around your body. It can be as close or as far as you want it. And you're going to put the piece of string or the ribbon, whatever it is, right around your body so that the two ends join. There's something here about the joining of the ends as well that makes the boundary setting more complete, and I find that that's a bit more effective. Once you've got that boundary set, you're just going to breathe into it. You're going to take some deep breaths in, really slowly breathing out, and just notice that you've created this boundary, this actual boundary around your body. And you can say something like, I am here, I am safe, this is my space. And really feel into that space that you've created that's yours. Just as a side note, it's not that once you've created this boundary that you're not going to be available for other people, or that all of a sudden you're not going to be able to feel and share the compassionate side of you that I know that you really want to share. Actually, quite the opposite is going to happen. You're going to notice that as you start to bring these boundaries a little bit more into your life, that you're going to feel stronger and more ready to walk into those situations that you know might usually be very draining. You can play with these affirmations, with these confirmations. Say what feels right for you. You can do this kind of exercise before going into a situation, maybe a meeting, maybe you're going to a conference, maybe you're going to work and you're finding that people at work are particularly draining. But this is also a really handy technique when you are at home and you suddenly are faced with a situation like I was the other day. The phone rings, you can see who's calling, and you're thinking, they are definitely going to need to let go of some of their emotional baggage on me. So I picked up the phone. I wasn't thinking too much about it, but as the phone call continued, I could tell that this was going to be quite a heavy call. And so what I did is I got the ribbon that I had nearby and I put it around my body while I was on the call. And I just said to myself while I was speaking to the person, just inwardly, I am here and you are over there. Something very simple. We continued the conversation, but when I got off that call, I felt amazing. Normally I will be going over the things in my head. I will be trying to think of solutions, taking on that energy myself. But this time, because I'd placed that boundary around me, I actually felt myself. I didn't feel like I've absorbed the drama. I didn't bring that then into my home and feel emotionally unbalanced for the rest of the evening. And of course, you probably can't take a ribbon with you everywhere you go, but even just doing it in the morning or when you know you've got something coming up, it's really powerful. Let's move on to the crystal aura practice. Now, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you've probably seen a version of this, but I love working with crystals, as you know, and I'm sure you've got plenty in your collections as well. So pick one that you really love or that you're really attracted to today. And this is the crystal that you'll be using for this amplifying aura session. The great thing about this one is that you can do it wherever you are because you don't need a sacred space, you don't need a long ribbon. You could even do it in the bathroom if you're just feeling, oh my gosh, I'm just about to go into a situation that's going to be really demanding of my energy. So this is why it's really useful. And if you already carry crystals with you during the day, then this is just a great way to put them into use, to really give them some little jobs to help you with. So I'm going to be using this aquamarine crystal. I love this crystal. This crystal is really for the throat chakra and for really clarity and having clear words. So I just thought this was a nice one to pick up today, because even though we're creating these boundaries, then we do want to be able to be supportive, be compassionate and open, and say the things that are going to really help the people in our lives. So make sure that your crystal's cleansed, even if that's something very simple like running it under some water. And you're just going to start to connect with your crystal. I connect with the crystal by connecting with my third eye with the crystal. I've got a really simple video on this. If you're not really sure what I'm talking about, I'll link that at the end. So I'm just going to connect. I'm going to start breathing into the crystal, connecting with the energy, breathing it in, noticing that connection. I would have this in my hand just down by my side, but I'm just holding it so that you can see. Once I'm feeling a bit calmer, more connected to the crystal, then I'm going to start to imagine a light forming around my body. And as I breathe in the energy of the crystal, I'm going to imagine this light really glowing brightly in the area of my heart. And as I breathe out, that light expands around my body. Breathing in, brightening in the heart. Breathing out, expanding around the body. Really simple exercise, really nice and relaxing, this exercise to do. And here you're really amplifying your existing aura. You're just strengthening that energetic boundary around your body. And you can try with different crystals, you can try with different colors. Really go with your feelings. Your intuition is your greatest guide here. Your higher self already knows the kind of situations you're going to be faced with today. And so if your intuition is calling you to use a crystal color that you wouldn't normally use, maybe listen to it, because your higher self knows what's coming up. If you're already meditating with crystals, you might have noticed that they have a slightly different vibration depending on their color, that the sensation in your body when you're meditating is slightly different. And it's the same for this aura amplification exercise. I suggest that you carry the crystal around with you during the day so that you can just hold it during the day if you need a top up, just as a reminder of that beautiful protection light that you've created around yourself. Okay, so the final way I want to talk about creating an energetic boundary is a little bit more unusual, but I think you're okay with that. If you're here on the channel, then I know that you like a bit of astrology. And in this boundary setting, we're going to be connecting with the energy of Saturn. Now, the planet Saturn is the planet of boundaries. It's the planet of walls, of structures, of borders, physical blocks. So as you can imagine, just with those words and the images that they bring up, we're going to be calling in the energy of Saturn when we need a really strong boundary. You can even imagine an impenetrable wall that you're creating, because there are some situations where we need that. And you might even notice that as we're doing this exercise, as I'm talking through it, or as you're trying it in your own time, that you start to feel a bit cold, that you start to maybe feel a bit serious, because these are also words associated with the planet Saturn. Saturn is the reality check. And as we call in this energy, you might notice that you suddenly see things in a new way, that the perspective that you have is that you can see where you're being fooled, where somebody is actually trying to drain your energy or purposely using you as a sponge. Saturn is going to help you to wake up to that. These are the kind of people that you don't want to be draining your energy on. So if you already know that there is a situation coming up that requires this kind of boundary, then you can set this up beforehand. You can have a look at pictures of Saturn. Notice the ring that it has round it. The ancients called this the ring that passeth not. They called it a boundary to reality. And so just contemplating the imagery of Saturn helps you to imagine this very strong, persistent boundary that you can create. If you have time beforehand, light candles that are darker, like either a dark blue or a black candle, these are colours that are more related to the Saturnian energy. And it's not here about black magic here. It's just calling in a bit of soberness, calling in strength. But I'm sure that I don't need to tell you that we don't always know when we're faced with these situations. And so this happened to me recently when I was in the airport. I was traveling with my husband and we were flying to Spain through Turkey, through Istanbul. And the Istanbul airport, if you've ever been, is huge. We were really excited about going on holiday. We were really looking forward to our trip. And when we got to the airport, we had a very long layover. So we were wandering around the airport, drinking coffee, eating in different places. And after a while, I started to feel the density of the airport, the fact that there's so many people passing through that place. I just suddenly started to feel less myself, like I was absorbing the energy around me. And so we sat down for something to eat, and I started to call in the energy of Saturn. And I thought, okay, how does Saturn feel? I started to straighten my back. I started to imagine myself as being more responsible, more serious. I ate with more care. It seems silly, but these feelings that I was pulling in were actually creating a boundary around myself, an energetic boundary. When we started to walk around again, I started to walk with more posture. I tied my scarf in a more refined way. If you have time, you can put on Saturn colours, greys, blacks, suits, sharp angles. This is you taking on that energy of Saturn, and it really worked. I did feel a little bit more serious. That level of excitement about going on the trip, it kind of dissipated a bit, but I felt more in control. And that's the point when we're setting boundaries, is that we're very absorbent, and often we just forget that. And this brings me on to my final point that I wanted to make. The other day I saw this girl on social media basically dissing people that create energetic boundaries and saying that teaching people to create boundaries around themselves suggests that we're powerless, or that we have to look outside of ourselves to feel strong. And I thought it was an interesting perspective. I like to hear people out. And especially when somebody believes something so strongly, I really feel that that very strong belief means that it's true for them. And as I contemplated what she was saying, I was thinking, this is what I want for you, to live with a feeling of being divinely connected, with an open heart, ready to help the people around you. But the reality is, if you're anything like me, there are many moments that you forget. I'm faced with situations that require my compassion and I'm not ready. I get stressed out and I lose my presence, and I'm sure that you do too. And so the exercises that we've talked about today are not about taking away your power or telling you that you don't have power. It's reminding you that you do have this power and that you can amplify it, call it in, and it will work for you. These are practical ways to connect with what you already know and strengthen your field when you need it most. So let me know which of those boundaries sounds most interesting to you, or if you've tried any of them. I'm planning to do a free workshop on creating boundaries for an empowered life. So if you'd like to go deeper on this with me, put in the comments the word power and I'm going to send you directly the details. Thank you so much for watching.